What's going on, guys? Welcome to our spoiler cast of Point in Progress, 12 minutes spoiler cast. This is a game that was just released a little while ago, probably about a month ago, maybe a little bit less than a month ago now, about 3 weeks. It is by Annapurna. The publisher is Annapurna. Do you guys remember who the dev was for this one?
I just know that it was one person.
Luis. Yeah.
Luis Antonio.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
This is
spelling.
a point and click kind of adventure game.
Do you want to research it and we start over and do it again?
I mean,
No,
if
you are correct. It is Luis.
yeah, it's Luis
there we
Antonio.
go.
Yeah.
Wikipedia just says Luis.
Okay. Because I remember playing the game and I
Nailed it.
didn't see like the actual like studio, so I'm guessing. And I
Yeah.
saw his name everywhere. So
There we go.
Right.
It's an
Yeah.
auteur like Ariel Knight. Shout out to Ariel Knight.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna introduce everybody here on the panel. I'm Harv. With me is Mario from Point in Progress, also,
Sure.
and then down below from me we have Robo Dessert. How you
What's
doing,
up?
Robo?
I'm doing so good. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can't wait to talk about this game. And then on to the right of him, we have Robert as well. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Heck yes, both from Co-op Comedy, which is going to be in the description below as well, as you can check them out over
Oh.
there.
Can we make a
Oh,
C?
thank you.
Make a double C shape. Okay.
Wait, I gotta go the other way.
This fusion, huh?
That fusion, ha! But
Together we'll
before
make one funny person.
before we get into spoilers and spoiler-free talk and all about the story and stuff, little housekeeping. We have a new podcast coming out this week on Final Fantasy 14. That's going to be between me, Fee, and Frank, going out this week. And then on Friday, we're recording our podcast live on twitch.tv/point-and-progress. And we have a special guest for that one as well, because I think you're out that week, right, Mario?
Yeah, I think Kelsey should be stepping in.
Yeah.
There was some minor confusion that was happening this week. It is instead happening next week.
Yeah. So we're going to have her. It's very exciting. It's like our second guest on the podcast, I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than some people that jumped in there in our live streams. So yeah.
So, getting back into the main thing, this is a spoiler cast for 12 minutes. Before we get into any kind of spoilers, I want to go to Robo first. What are your thoughts on this game?
I honestly really enjoyed it overall. I don't think it's perfect. I think it was very unique. I think it did a lot of really clever things. I think it had some shortcomings, but I think it did a lot of I think it did a lot of things right overall. And I would recommend it to people. It's certainly sparked a lot of conversation, if nothing else.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things, right? When a game elicits these conversations, I think it's probably one of the most important things. I was saying this on the stream where I was like, this game I'm gonna remember in a couple years because we've had these conversations around it, compared to a game that we played that I don't even remember from like last week, right?
Yeah.
Because like we're gonna sit down, we're gonna have some feelings about it, and it's gonna make us feel make us feel different things. So I want to talk to Robert now. What are your spoiler-free thoughts?
Oh man, let me tell you what. Infuriating. My name is Judge Highway, and I'll be the dissent opinion.
The funny thing is, I see both of your guys' things on this. Both of you, I can see both sides of the coin on this one.
I will say, as an overall like summation, I had less fun than more fun, and but I can appreciate like the fact that this was made by one person. He had a very unique vision that you don't see often in video games. Like, this is a very unique concept. It was done in a very cool way, but a lot of misses for me. You know, video games are art, it's subjective, blah blah blah. But for me, it was like a 6 out of 10. Okay, it was just okay.
Yeah. How about you, Mario?
Well, definitely, I would say in the group of people here, I probably am the most high on the game in terms of what I thought about it, in terms of the story, in terms of what you actually do to accomplish certain things. As someone who has played a bit of, sort of these like point and click adventure games, where essentially, I'm trying to get through the story, dialogue choices, learning things about the people around me. I'm a huge Telltale fan originally from like The Walking Dead, which then I also played other games like Tumbleweed Park, Grim Fandango, some of those other games. So these things are not that foreign to me when I was playing the game. So I definitely think that is, apparent if this is going to be your first point and click game, that a lot of these choices and things that happen in the game can also hinder your experience. But at the same time, I do think the game does a great job in a lot of aspects of pointing you in certain directions. Again, it's still totally up to you. It's a sandbox. You literally are within this box shape that has 2 other rooms, and that is it. It's everything you have to work with. And of course, like I said, in terms of the thematic aspect of it, I was enjoying because I'm a massive fan of Twilight Zone and many other things that I will bring up, especially in spoilers. But those are the things that kept drawing me in to keep going and playing it over and over. And I played it multiple times. I've actually gotten all the endings. I only have 1 achievement left, and I'm afraid to play again because this game rewards you when you don't know what the solution is, but when you know the solution is, you have to work your way. You have to remember how you even got to that solution. So
Yeah.
this game's going to be fun to start all over again. So we'll see how it goes. But that's my general thoughts.
Yeah, for me, I haven't played many point and click adventures. Like that isn't a genre that I'm used to for the most part. So, like a lot of people threw out like Tumbleweed Park and like the old, like there was an old like Star Wars game that was like this too and stuff like that. And I feel like where this game kind of falters for me is like the sandbox is too small. It's too small of a sandbox for not enough things happening. So every time I get into a loop, I feel like, did I change anything? I don't know. And then I have to go through the dialogue. I know you can speed up the dialogue, but I feel like if there was some sort of like trigger there that tell me like, oh, maybe I did something different this time, that okay, I guess maybe the story will progress. Because I think my wife died about like 9 times, maybe 12 times in a row, and I was like, I don't know what's going on with that. I killed her a couple times, but that's beyond the point. But
yeah, that was fun because I actually didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah,
I never even thought to do that, Harv, you monster.
I think that was one of the coolest things about the game for me is how many options there are, because watching other people play it, I was like, I don't even know you could do that. And you just did. And then watch somebody else and they do a totally different thing. And there's just so many paths to get to the same destination, which I thought was really cool. I also think that was like one of the things that hindered it the most in some ways, because like playing through the loop eventually got sort of tedious to me, especially when you know what you need to do. You're like, okay, I just need to get to X point, but in order to do that, I have to do these 3 things in this order, and if I miss any of those, it's done. And there's not really a way to like make a button where you can just jump to this point, because there's so many branching paths. It would just be impossible to make jumps to each of those points. But yeah, it was so cool seeing, Robert did some stuff that I was like, I didn't even know that was an option.
Boy, I sure did. Many things out of frustration.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait to get into the spoiler stuff. Okay, let's get into the spoiler stuff. So I'm gonna put something on the screen right here, be like spoilers in that sound. What did you guys? Let's start with Robert. What did you think of the story?
Okay, so the story in general, oh boy, let me tell you, it literally felt like this guy Luis just loves M. Night Shyamalan, and he just wants to be like, listen, you think M. Night's gonna shove 1 twist in a video game? Check this out, 18 twists in 1 freaking video game. Good lord, the man needs to take a chill pill with these twists. I was told, like, I was on board with this watch scenario, and I'm like, all right, cool, this guy needs to watch, we got to figure it out. And then he's just like, nope, wait till this happens. Nope, wait. Like, okay, so we're in spoiler territory. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like, you hammered into me that I need to figure out how this guy needs to get his watch in his hand so he's happy, so he can pay off his daughter's damn cancer, and then like I'm trying to figure out how to get this, but guess what? No, in fact, he doesn't give a damn about the watch, does he? No, he has a problem with this woman apparently. But then you go deeper, and then it's like, it was just too many twists. I could have done it with 1 less twist. I didn't need to know that this guy's also banging his sister. I didn't need to know also this is maybe not even happening in the real world. That's too many things. This isn't Inception. You're not Nolan. Let's chill out a little bit. Let's make a nice, concise story. You know what I mean? Like, I was on board with the puzzle aspect and all that, but then it just kept going, and you got to dig deeper. And I was like, oh, it's too much. I don't like it.
I don't necessarily say that those are twists, but those are just developing plot points that you have to discover. While
So many twists.
Not every decision someone makes is a twist.
You made dessert. Oh my god, that's a twist.
Oh my god, a baby! Oh my god!
Okay, well, I will say this. That's a fair point. That's an absolute fair point because I still don't know the plot, so not necessarily, it doesn't make it a twist. Yeah. However, I think the way that the game presented the world that you're in and what you are doing kind of led to, like, at first you're like, okay, baby, and this and that, and then he murders you with his bare hands because he wants to watch, right? So then it's like, all right, I thought that was it. We got to figure out this watch. She killed the dad or something. Watch this and that. But I guess, thinking back into it, maybe they sprinkled like a little bit of plot point so that maybe this will come back later and this and that. Sure. I will give you that.
Where you're thinking about this is like the watch is like the end game, and we're gonna get everything in between it. But once we get to the watch, that was gonna be it, right?
I can't tell you the number of times after I found the watch, I was trying to shove that watch in this man's hand so he would leave my wife alone. Do you understand? Like, okay, and I will say it right now before we get any more deeper in my rants. This ain't the type of game for me. I know this. I'm the type of guy when I watch like a murder mystery thing, like I'm trying to figure it out, and if I figure it out, like that's it. Like I'm happy. But this game kept saying, nope, that ain't it. I'm like, what do you mean? It makes sense with what you've given me. This guy wants to watch. I'm like, all right, here's what I'm gonna do. Let me tell you guys this story. I'm like, all right, here's what I'm gonna do. I figure out I could put things in vents. Okay, I figured out I could put things in vents. I opened the vent in the living room. I put the watch in there. I put the little candle in there. I shut off all the lights. My wife is passed out in the bedroom. I closed the door because when this guy comes in and the door is closed, he doesn't go in there immediately. He doesn't walk in and go, hey, what's that over there? There's a woman, and then he walks up in there. He doesn't do that yet, right? He kind of like lingers a little bit. I shut off all the lights. I'm in the closet. Everything's dark. It triggers him going like, oh, anybody home? I'm like, this guy's gonna see the light. The room is dark. He'll see the light and he'll be like, and he'll bend down and he'll look and he'll say, oh, there's the watch I murdered someone for. I'm gonna take this watch. I'm gonna go help my daughter who has cancer, and that's that, right? Doesn't blink. Goes in the bedroom. Goes in the freaking thing. Opens the lights. Passes out. Good Lord, you doesn't give a damn about the watch. Why'd you even bring the daughter with cancer into it to red herring us into believing he needs the watch to pay for the cancer?
But we know the reason why he's also there. It's two reasons. It's there is that watch which will help his daughter, but it's also someone that has wronged his best friend or someone that he knows.
But I didn't know that yet.
I didn't know that second part yet.
I didn't do the thing I needed to do for him to tell me that yet.
But I get what you're trying. I get what you're trying to say. Where it's like, I'm putting the watch right here. The candle is here. Just look at the watch and just be done with it.
You just put it on the table. At that point,
that's the other thing. Oh, Mario, let me tell you about the table. I was frustrated 3.5 hours into this game when I tried that like vent thing. And then when I figured out I could put it on the table, I out loud proclaimed, "Oh, it's the table! It's right there because it's in his line of sight." Somebody in my chat said, "How open are you for me to tell you that like something doesn't work?" And I'm like, at this point,
that was being Harv.
And I'm like, at this point, let me know if this ain't gonna work. He's like, yeah, the table doesn't work. He doesn't glance at it once, and my gasket blew like a cartoon with the freaking smoke coming out of the eyes. I'm like, then this mother effer doesn't give a damn about this watch. Why did you hammer into me? Watch. Get out of my face.
Yeah, there's one scenario specifically where he needs the watch. That is still by far his goal. But there is a part where have you tried? I mean, I don't know if anyone's done this where you obviously not. This is the part. And you can obviously talk about how fucked up certain elements of this game is. You knock out your wife with drugs.
Yeah, you fucking do.
She passes out. You go hide in the closet, right? Because you know that he's going to flip the light switch and get knocked out.
Yep.
He does that. You tie him up. And what was the thing? Oh, you don't take anything else. You just tie him up once. That's it. You leave all the other items.
Yep,
you tell him, hey, I'm innocent. It's like, all right, let me get up. Cool. Don't make a goddamn move. Where's the watch? All right, cool. You give him the watch. All right, go sit down on the couch.
Yeah.
Give me
That
a
shit
few
was
minutes.
fucked up.
Yes. So yeah, no matter what, he still was vindictive enough. If he doesn't have the right information, he'll fucking kill your wife.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of that, I'm sorry, Harv. One more thing. Sir, one more thing. I'm like the press guy in the back. Yeah, one more question.
Yes,
This protagonist, oh, what a stupid, silly mother effer this guy is. Takes a gut punch, comes back, blocks the gut, and then like does a thing, jukes it, but can't figure out this guy's gonna headbutt you. He's not learning from his past and keeps getting his ass kicked. I get it, is what you gotta do to tell the story, but good lord.
And he only takes one punch, and then he's like, "All right, I'm out."
Oh my god,
Done.
This idiot's gonna stand. He's gonna sit there while the guy's shooting his wife. This is before you know this is a weird hypno dream and shit like that. Oh, another twist in the pile of Gordian knot twists.
Another twist. You are him. You are the idiots. You are not doing anything to save your wife.
I try to get
you, Robert.
All right, Robo. What's your take on the story for 12 minutes?
I mean, I really enjoyed the story. Like I know about myself. This is my type of game. I enjoy point and click, story driven adventures, even if it's like dialogue heavy or whatever. And like I love solving puzzles. I get really sucked into mysteries. Like I am like gullible with mysteries. I'm like, I don't know, how did he do that? And like everyone else that's like watching the movie is like, it's right. It's a mirror. And I'm like, we don't know that. They haven't told us yet. I don't know. So like I feel like I'm the exact type of person for this sort of thing. So I really enjoyed the story overall. I thought it was absolutely like one of the most unique stories I've seen in a game. Like the whole time loop thing isn't necessarily unique, but the overall story and like, since we're already talking about spoilers, the whole ending where you find out that you are married to your sister, your half sister, and you're about to have a kid with her. The first time I saw that, I was like, this is sort of like that put me off a little bit at first, because it was like, this is sort of like this just feels like shock value, right? But the more time that it sat with me and the more time I thought about it, I was like, it is shocking, but like shit like this happens in the real world. Like we would not hear about it a lot or whatever, and it's like a shock to us. But I don't think that was just put in just for like shock value or whatever. Like I think it was just like, what if it was this? Like let's just explore this weird, unique scenario here and go through the motions of that. So I really enjoyed the story overall. I think that was absolutely strong points of the game. It's just some of the paths you have to take to get through it get a little tedious, but it was good. It was good.
Mario, before I go, I'm gonna let Mario go for your. What do you think of the story of this game?
Yeah. Overall, the fact that I think what is the strongest thing is the fact that all the rules take place within exactly 12 minutes. You could speed things up, obviously, but that's your choice to get to some further events. Everything is planned out minute by minute, second by second, including the lightning, hearing the way that the sound pops off, like the fact that I think is the crux of the game, and where you can do all the things within that time frame, as long as you do them in the certain order that you need to get the right information. Obviously, if you don't know the information, I think is really well done. And the way that people talk to each other and the way that you make mistakes then leads you to try to do other solutions. One of the easiest things, and it's an obvious one, is like gets to a point where you try to tell him the truth and he's still not gonna take it. He even says, I only listen to two people in my life, my wife and my daughter, and one of them's dead.
Yeah.
And then you get his phone, you see the fact that he talks to his daughter, and then now you have somebody that you can talk to that hopefully will convince him. So there are definitely breadcrumbs that are sprinkled throughout the whole game that I think that do a good enough job to get you to where you need to be. Especially, I even say like the setup for the, what was her name? D something flowery. And the
Delilah or Delia.
No, I'm saying what they said.
But
in the
yeah,
game.
this is where I'm coming from when it comes to this game. Is like those are the breadcrumbs that I like. When they say something like, I only listen to two people, and it's like my mom and my daughter, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta talk to the daughter. Maybe that's gonna change something, right? Or we know the flower is something with a D, and it's like, oh shit, we opened the present like 2 loops ago. So it's like a callback from that
the first loop. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
So like, but the more frustrating thing for me was like there just wasn't enough breadcrumbs to like for that starting. I feel like that starting part of it, where I kept on messing up the desserts for some reason. Sometimes I put the dessert in my pocket, And then
Yeah,
I
I
was
can't
just
bake
like,
either. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
and then
bake
she's
That
just
guy
like-
can carry a lot of shit too, by the way.
yeah. And then
Full on
anyone-
plates with desserts on it, 2 cups, sleeping pills, a knife.
Yeah.
You know,
Done.
I put the dessert in my pocket, and she just like, oh, so you're not gonna put the dessert on? You know what? I don't want to talk to you tonight. And she just leaves like, I have the
Yeah.
desserts. They're right here. And then it was
you're
just like,
wife.
you're being a jerk. You're hiding the desserts. You should have shared.
they're
I'm
really
out of here.
She gets mad at you when you eat the desserts by yourself.
yeah.
She had a plan, man. She had a plan. She was gonna set this up for you.
Anyone else try to give the dessert to the killer or to the assassin?
No, no.
I was like, oh, we can. When he said, "Hey, I know you're innocent" or whatever, like we can work things out. The first time it didn't work out because he punched me in the face because I also stole other things in his pockets.
Yeah.
And so that was like, wait a minute, dessert. There was 2 of them.
Yeah.
I'll have one. He'll have one.
We'll talk about this.
it. Hey, how about you don't kill my wife? You take the fucking watch, go save your daughter, get out of my face.
That'd be great.
It
Wait,
was that.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Hold
Go,
on,
go.
hold on. There's a few things. The problems that I do have with the game specifically, and this is why I don't want to say it's a perfect game. The things I do have problems is that things that are tied to dialogue gray out, and then you're like, oh, I don't have to click that again, which is not
Yes.
true.
Yes.
That is a big.
That's a good point.
thing
It's a good point.
That's a big thing that's wrong with the game because
Mhm.
you'll get a new piece of information, but that not know how to proceed through the next loop because that dialogue option that you choose often is grayed out, and so you don't know to go forward. So that's to me is one of the things I think UI based on the actual gameplay of it, that is something wrong and actually needs to be fixed. So that way people can understand that like this one line shortcuts you to everything.
It's that
Right?
one line where
It's
it tells you
vital.
about the watch. Because
It's
every
the
time I
most
went through
important
it,
line in the game.
yeah, Mario, because Mario was kind of coaching me through it at the end there, and he's like, you have to like pick that command, and like everything is grayed out. It's like, how do I know that I need to pick that command, for
Yes,
example,
and
right? Like
that-
it's
mhm.
And
That's
if
what
you
I'm
pick the
saying.
wrong one, you don't have to do the loop again
Yes,
to get back to that
exactly,
point and have the option.
And don't get me wrong, I actually like I for a person that doesn't play point and click adventures, I think the later half of the game is much better than the first half of the game. I actually enjoyed, and I was more into the story after we got the killer onto the ground and you like tie him up, and then you have like that whole dialogue thing. Unless you shoot him in the abdomen and you're like, oh fuck, oops.
You have a very short window of time to answer that
Yeah,
question.
yeah, and then yeah.
I'm bleeding out, man.
Yeah.
Good.
And having like when you shoot him in the leg and you have that like dialogue back and forth and him talking about his wife and stuff like that drew me into the story, and that was its strong point in my opinion. But it did, in my opinion, it did also overstay its welcome. After I got like he got the watch, gave her the hug, and I was like, oh, that's a good story. And then I started, I'm like, fuck, now what do I have to do?
Yeah, it's like it's not over yet, fucker.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, what else do we have to uncover on the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, that ending was like the in Inception when he spins it and you're like, excuse me? And then it just leaves you with that. You're like, what do you want from me? I want to bring up something real quick because Robo said this and it kind of changed. Like it quelled my anger a bit because I was getting really frustrated. And he's like, well, now you feel what the protagonist feels by going through these loops
Yeah.
constantly, unable to figure out. And I was like, okay, well, I like that a little bit. I like that because then it's like
necessarily makes it better, but I don't even know
No,
if that was intentional.
just a little
per
bit.
se, but
I was
it's
gonna go
like,
5
oh.
out of 10, but that made me 6 out of 10.
That got me to a 5.1.
Yeah.
It got me to it. It's okay.
Yeah, it kind of saved it for me because I like games that make you like feel something, and this game truly did. And especially at the end, like you guys were saying, like when you think you're at the end, something resolved, and then they loop you back, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And the protagonist, same, he's like getting pissed off. And I will say that the game did a good job with emotions and all that.
Yeah, and I ultimately enjoyed the relationship that you have with both the wife and the. I don't want to call her husband. The wife and her brother.
The monster.
The monster.
monster.
Especially during the part when you're starting to hear her tell the story and how really upset she is, and the fact that she has had to live with this and had to deal with this for so long, and then you find the photo and you're like, oh wait, she's actually innocent. How do we get this to prove to move the story forward? I will say, getting to the actual monster stuff, then it's like, well, we're getting a little off the rails again, though. That is something that, and then we're in total spoilers, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about movies that definitely inspired this game, and movies specifically that inspired this movie or this game. The movie Old Boy. very much has something very similar to this, even the very end with the meditation stuff. And that's why I totally like sort of accepted the story for what it was. I know that people still have a lot of problems with obviously the sister, boyfriend, cousin, uncle twist, whatever that is. But yeah, no, I don't know. I just think that overall, I think they told the story he was trying to tell, and I thought that was like, oh,
It's one of those things where like sometimes when you go through like that trauma and stuff like that, you block it out, right? And that's what
exactly.
yeah,
Mhm.
you block
Mhm.
out like all that stuff that's happened to you, and then you and it all kind of comes back after. Like, you know, a lot of people in the chat were like, he was being hypnotized, he was going through like all that kind of stuff, right? So and then brings back all that trauma back towards you again, and then you could feel those feelings and like try like, you know, own up to it, or just be like, no, I want to go forward with this and stuff like that. So
Okay, wait, question. Speaking of the ending, because I only played it once, I got to an ending and I was like, that's good. I'm done. I got what I wanted from this game. I feel completed. I'm moving on. But I thought the ending was one thing, but then watching other people play it, reading some stuff online, I was like, wait, did I misinterpret the ending? Because I thought it was that none of this had actually happened and you are back some point in time with the dad, and I didn't know about the hypnotization, like that went over my head, but I was like, I thought this was like a story that we as the protagonist had created in our own head out of like guilt and fear of like having feelings and wanting to pursue our sister, so that we are living this in our own head until we choose to let go of it and move on, and that's what ends this loop. But apparently there's like the dad is hypnotizing us, and the dad is still alive in the present. Like I didn't.
So I don't know
fully
if, again, I've played it multiple times, and I'm still some iffy on certain details. But if I had to interpolate from the reason why I have to interpolate is because I try to do all the endings, and when you do that, you do get a little bit more dialogue. There's one achievement specifically where you have to like hit a dialogue option at an exact time during the clock, because you can watch the clock. You have to hit it at exactly at 7, so that way it like delays just enough so you can hear him say something. And he says like there's a baby involved, you know, there's this and that, which is details you would only know if, you know, you think that things happen. But it could just be that, yes, he's having a session with his father, which we don't really hear about what the father does, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
So it's very possible that he is a therapist of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible that this could take place well before anything happens, where it's just at the start of their relationship, where he is telling him like, hey, if you go down this road, this, by the way, is your sister. Here's all the many possibilities that could happen in the course of, you know, your story. And then you hit the meditation option, which is basically there's a book behind you on the wall. He basically erases these worries away from you, and then you get to proceed on your life without having to worry about it. That's my version of the story, but I've seen it. But the fact that there is that detail of like, it's still confusing, which, you know, I understand for most people, but I feel like it's at least confusing enough where you can interpret your own version of what that story is. Like, even to me, like even Old Boy has like a somewhat a definitive ending. You can still interpret it like 2 different directions, but either way, that's my take on it, is that it all happened. It all is just all within this construct that he's in a meditation office with his father. He's telling him this is the road you can choose, left or right. You know, totally forget about this and move on with the rest of your life, or proceed forward and see what happens. Either way, I mean, you get choked out and you go back into a loop.
So essentially is the fact that like one dad got shot, or like none of that was real then, right? That's just the story that he created in order to make the protagonist come to the conclusion that marrying and fucking and impregnating your sister is bad. Like, was that just all, you know what I mean? Like, is that what's going on? Someone help me.
No, it's interesting because they clearly are developing a story, because the daughter is not real at this point, right? So
there's no sign of a daughter.
The guy who is at the door, who's also the father.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, the
Yeah.
cancer daughter.
She
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
That's why I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
you can be interpreted in so many different ways. Like, that person doesn't exist then. So then what is the point of that, including that in the story, other than
I wonder if that's like the husband, the old father interpreting like his actual real daughter is infected with someone as like a brother who loves her, because he does say you're radiation. He says that to him, and then the interpret like he's like taking the concept of his daughter putting her in like another character who has cancer and will die, as in like, I don't know, if a brother and a sister get together, like it's dead or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the only way to fix it is by hypnotism, aka the watch or whatever. Like there's like a whole weird metaphor. I don't know. All that just got connected in here.
No, totally. And like I said, I think you could definitely go in those directions. It is interesting of like, but yeah, what is the attribution of like, how did they got in the situation in the first place? It all like, is that real? Like how do we even connect that? Like the affair with the nanny, is the nanny like, again,
is the nanny is the nanny real? Like is that something in his mind that when he was growing up, he's manifesting that into this story?
Yeah.
I think that's actually another strength of this game and the story is like that the fact that a lot of it is sort of metaphorical and you can interpret it in your own way, even though there's probably like one correct ending or whatever, and there's some things that are more solidified than others, but the fact that you can just be like me, when I finished first, I was like, cool, that's how it is, I got it, cool, I didn't checked out. Because I think like stories like this, if I had watched this in a movie, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much, because I feel like I would have been spending so much time trying to figure out like, wait, okay, so that was that guy, and then it would have just like moved on without me. Whereas in a game, I can just like stop for a second and be like, okay, it's this guy, okay, and then I can like control the speed of it, I guess, and stick with it a little bit more.
It's funny you say that, because I'm the opposite. I would have preferred this as a movie, because I feel like as a movie, it would have, the director or the writer or someone would have chosen a specific like way to end it, then leave it up to interpretation, instead of like a video game where I can play one way and now it's this ending, but I have to play it again and go endure all of this in order to see a different ending or whatever. And like you can kind of like, you have to like see multiple different scenes to then piece a story, whether I don't know, but I don't know. To me, I like the story as like a pull back kind of view it. I'm like, this is very interesting, the hypnotism and all of that. I would have preferred an hour and a half experience, see a guy go through a loop, get his ass kicked a bunch of times, try to figure it out, weird shit's going on, twists on twists, and then finish it off for me somehow.
So that's like a thing with some of these games, is like the way you want to interpret like a video game, and seeing what the ending is going to be and stuff like that, and then you kind of put this all into your mind, be like, yeah, I think this is the definitive ending, and then somebody else comes in and it's like, no, I think this is the definitive ending. Do you guys gravitate more towards something like, if a writer has this kind of ending, this is going to be the definitive ending and that's it? Or do you guys like the games that have that metaphorical ending where like, oh, there is just more out there that it could be?
So, I mean, I'll jump in and say that for a long time in my life, I was definitely one of those ways, but I've definitely become more of the sort of like, you can interpret it the way you want and there is no definitive, that's coming from certain narratives that I've watched, growing up and being more choosing what I want to see. So I would say in terms of like having multiple options, that's the life to me. There's just there's so many totally different things you could choose from. So for a game like this, I think it was totally fine for what they did. Even though there is a definitive ending to this game, because your progress resets after you get to the meditation ending. So like, there's technically, that is the ending, but again, still so much still to deter from it, like where you can make up your own concepts, like how we just all talked about different manifestations of the daughter, like you just said. So yeah, I don't know, I think there's a lot still to grab from this.
Yeah, I think I usually prefer stories in games and other media that have like a very clear definitive ending, but especially as I've gotten older, I've been much more open to trying to sort through endings like this that can be more open to interpretation. And I think they're really cool too. And because, like we were talking about at the start of this has sparked so much conversation about this game and the story in it, and similar movies, Stanley Kubrick movies, and
I mean, that carpet in the hallway is straight up The Shining, so it's definitely inspired.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely very cool I think for me, I like mostly stories that are like, it's this, you're done. Because for me, it feels more like closure to the story. Because like, I don't typically replay games or really rewatch movies a lot too. Like I usually like to watch a movie, be done, move on. We and talk about it or whatever, or play a game, be done, move on. I don't typically replay or rewatch a lot of things. So I like having that sense of closure. Whereas usually with things like this, where it's like, but is it this? Here I am like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and I'm like, but is it? Was it? I still don't know. So
it happened to me too, and I was like, oh, I'm done. I was like, but wait a minute, was that the ending?
Yeah.
I mean, I had the same thing when like this is a different game, but when Detroit came out, Detroit Become Human, it was the same thing for me, where I had an ending and I was like, that's my definitive ending. Somebody else came up and said like, no, this is the way I got. I'm like, oh man, okay. So like, what does my ending like? How does it fit into like the greater world of like what this game is trying to teach you and trying to show you kind of type thing, right?
Yeah, I feel like that game specifically though cheats because you can go in so many directions
Yeah.
and continue on. Like your game could end early for certain things.
Yeah.
For this, it's like this is still the whole experience, and then once you reach the end of the experience, then that is you interpolate from that.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried my hardest to not say it, but I'm going to only because I just have it right here. Of course, I'm referring to Twin Peaks, the #1 mindfucky show. So of course, yeah, over the last several years, I've come totally accustomed to stories like this.
All right, so I want to go around the horn now to talk about something that we really liked and something that we disliked about this game. So Mario, I'm going to start with you. So something that you liked and something that you disliked.
I mean, I'll talk about the certain thematic elements of the story that I enjoyed. Very much like films that I've seen and things I think that are inspired by it. Like I pointed out just a second ago, the fact that there's sort of a Stanley Kubrick like weirdness to it with the the fact that the carpet is the shining carpet from the hotel. One of the posters in the room is clearly Roman Holiday, which I thought was really cool. And then I think just the general weirdness of the story is my favorite thing about it. My least favorite thing is the controls suck. Especially on a controller because I was playing on my Series X and they are not fun, especially when you have a time limit. And normally I hate time limits in games. Time limits suck, but at least this one was a part of the narrative that actually I end up enjoying. But yeah, the controls suck.
I mean, I feel like they're not great on mouse and keyboard either, but
there you go. Getting to that vent was a bitch.
Yeah. That whole thing where like you had to get to the vent from in the bathroom. I was like, I couldn't even see it half the time. It was down there because it was so dark. And then somebody in chat was like, "Yeah, there's a vent." And I was like, "What? where did you guys see this vent?" How about you, Robo? What's something that you liked and what you disliked?
I actually sort of what Mario was talking about earlier, the fact that all of this is constructed gameplay wise within this 12-minute loop, and the way they fit everything down to the second in there. Every time you play through it, it's the same. And like you said too, it's used narratively, not just in terms of telling the story, but in terms of the way that you go through it. Because there were so many times when I was like, well, I know that she didn't do X or whatever, so why is there a dialogue option for me to just tell the cop that? And it's like, well, because we're starting again. There's no reason for the cop to listen to me. He doesn't know that I'm going through this time loop and no information from the future. Like and I was like, oh, that's right, because all of this is within this little loop here. So I thought that was I think they did a very good job of constructing that like down to a T within that sort of restraint. But at the same time, I think in some ways that ended up being one of the weakest gameplay mechanics, in that it becomes very tedious after a while, which we talked about earlier might have been intentional to make you feel the frustration of the characters going through. But there was definitely a point, because I think my playthrough took around 5 hours, and right around the 4-hour mark, I was like, I have to go through this fucking loop one more time. Okay,
I was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I was saying the same thing. Yeah.
And it was especially annoying when I knew the point that I needed to get to, but I knew that in order to get there, I had to go through these other points. I was like, okay, fine, let me just go down this checklist every time. And if you miss one of those things, just one, you're out, and you have to go again. Which, like, again, it was well constructed, but that for me, I was just like, okay. And also there was a point where I was like, I can see why Robert is so mad at this, because I already like games like this. I'm on board for this, and I'm still getting frustrated at this or getting worn out with this. I can only
at least
understand
give me a notification that something has changed. Apparently, there is a music cue that happens in the game that kind of tells you that if something has changed or you've done something right.
But if you could do it again though and still hear it. So that's the thing. It's like you're on the right path when you hear the music change. But then if you don't hear the music change again, it's like then you don't know, because it doesn't tell you.
Yeah, I feel like more of a visual thing would have been a little bit better in my opinion.
Yeah.
Robert, what is something that you liked, and what you hated?
Loved nothing.
Loved is a strong word.
I mean, you guys already heard a lot of my ranting and stuff, so this is gonna be like kind of a boiled down thing. What I liked overall was the idea and concept of what the developer was trying to do. What I didn't like was the execution.
Yeah.
Granted, not a point and click adventure kind of guy. I don't like the random, you got to get the cream cheese and shove it in the freaking keyhole of the door to make the key, then go put it in the freezer. So now you got a key for the door or whatever the hell these point and click adventure games want you to do. Totally get it. Maybe that's on me for not knowing what to expect when I got into this game, but I don't know. It's just, I looking back at it from like a non-player's view, and I'm like, oh yeah, the story's cool. What they're trying to do is cool. I love the loop, and I love the world that they crafted, and I like these characters and everything. But sir, the execution, not good. Not for me,
Babe.
Every time I try to talk to like the killer, my guy's like, no. It's like, what?
He's got this freaking guy's got my wife handcuffed,
Yeah.
face to the floor. Sir.
That's me.
That
Happens to me. I got a knife to the throat.
one of the most like the
Freaking
things that I
guy.
didn't like was like, the whole drugging your wife thing was just a weird concept in my
But the
opinion.
problematic stuff about this game, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
and
problematic shit.
then okay, so if you drug your wife and then call 911, for example, you call 911 and they ask you what's wrong. Yes, sir. They ask you what's wrong, and your character goes like, I drugged my wife and she's not waking up. I'm like, why would you say that to them all of a sudden? Like,
Why would you expect her to wake up?
Yeah.
She just downed a bunch of freaking heavy dose sleeping pills, which you said 2 seconds ago. Oh, these are heavy.
Yeah.
Freaking
But-
idiot protagonist.
Not only does the game make you drug your wife, it makes it so like ordinary. Because by like the 10th loop, you're like, come on, I gotta drug my wife. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah.
Like it makes it such a throwaway thing.
It's like one
But
of
it's
those
like
things.
this really intense that you're drugging your wife. Like, granted, there's this whole murder plot and everything, but it's like, well, that's
It's
really
for her own protection.
thing.
So
Yeah.
this guy doesn't kill her. But eventually
He kills her
he
anyway.
does kill. Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, why am I doing anything? I don't know,
I think
man.
there was also a loop where I just like took the gun, just shot myself as well. You can
Yeah, I
do
did
that
that
as
too.
well.
Something I didn't know you could do.
Yeah, and then he missed.
That's the
Like
funny
he
thing.
shot
This-
himself and
yeah.
he missed.
Oh, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, dude, you gotta do something right, man. You gotta do something right.
This is what I love. Like the two people here that kind of are skewing more towards didn't like the game, me and Harv, got so frustrated to the point where gun to head of the protagonist. And I think Robo and Mario, didn't you guys both not know that was an option?
I don't
or am
know.
I mistaken?
Yeah, I didn't remember.
Oh my God.
Oh, get this idiot out of my face. He didn't want his damn watch. I started yelling at freaking Hobgoblin in my
Oh,
Jesus
my God.
Christ.
One of the things I liked about this game, it was what you guys were talking about, the whole 12 minutes, because like I felt that sense of urgency on each loop, where I was talking to the killer and just be like, okay, you gotta go faster, man. You gotta go faster because I need to get as much information as I possibly can. Then he keeps complaining that he's bleeding out. It's like, dude, just tell me what I need to know.
Don't worry, you're gonna be fine in 2 minutes.
Yeah, in 2 minutes, and we're gonna be doing this again.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest problems I have is, I guess I'm just not used to these point and click adventures. The breadcrumbing just wasn't there for me. Where I get that the socket, you have to like, something's wrong with the socket, but the whole like, I never thought you would drug your wife. I had no idea. I thought you had to like use the pills and give the killer some water. Just be like, here's water or something like
Sir.
that. Sir.
No water? Here's cake.
Yeah.
Are we cool now?
Put the
Work with me. Let's
watch
find the watch
in the
together.
And the fact that one of the loops tells you where the watch is, and you can't just go get the watch. Like there's nothing in your apartment that you could use to open up a vent.
Yeah, there is.
But you get it
Yeah.
later. You get it.
No, you can open it at
No,
any
you're-
time, baby.
Oh, can you?
Your
It's the
keys.
knife. The knife and the keys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
can
know
open
that.
the keys.
Wait,
Oh,
what did
I-
you use to open it?
I used a knife that I got later off the killer.
Oh, I use my keys.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
there's
I
there's a
stabbed
knife on the
him
table.
and then used the bloody knife to open up the thing.
Great. And then put it in his bloody like gash. Here you go.
Here you go.
I was
Loop
trying.
over.
I was trying to
Yeah,
cut his restraints off, but I accidentally stabbed
Yeah.
him in the gut.
I love that.
Yeah,
I got-
to push. Hold on for a second, just to push
Yeah, yeah.
back on the like, the game is like I said, it tries to illustrate certain major things, and one of those things, if it's a little detail, can go a long way if you don't notice it. But like she constantly gets up and gets something to drink, and that's when I knew like she's gonna drink this if I put this in. That's how I know that there's at least certain things. Like when you remove the mug, she's like, "Where are all the mugs?"
I hate you. She just goes to bed.
Yeah.
What? Oh man. But so the next thing I wanted to tackle with you guys is about the performances. So there's an all-star cast here, right?
Yeah.
We got James McAvoy,
Surprising.
Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. So what? Okay, so Robert, what is your what stood out for these performances to you when it came to these three people?
I thought it was very convincing. The voice acting was very subtle. The conversations between the people kind of melded very well. I think one thing that's very interesting with video games is if you close your eyes and listen to dialogue, you can imagine it. If it's good voice acting, you won't know it's a video game, right? And I think this did that. If I closed my eyes and I was listening to this conversation, I think it was well enough that I could, believe that this was an actual conversation between two people. So I thought they did a great job. There was a lot of silly moments when you're just like, I just need to tell this killer, I know where the watch is. Please stop. Just chill out, sir. Oh my god. But yeah, there's obviously silly moments because it's a video game and you have control over dialogue based on what you do. But I think overall, I think it was a great job. The one thing that stood out to me was the first time that I popped out of the simulation, so to speak, and saw the hair father with the hair, and he had the same voice. I'm like, hold up, is he voicing both the assassin and the dad, or are they the same person, or whatever? So I thought that kind of threw me off for a loop just a bit. But
It's like we can get a budget for a fourth person.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was this is the highest budget indie game ever with this voice cast. Jesus Christ.
I mean, yeah,
I think this one guy paid for it.
got 3 all-star like
That's that Xbox money.
yeah.
Once he got an Xbox, she was like, "Wait, who do you want? Oh, okay, give me a second."
Yeah, like you got an X-Men character, you got somebody from Star Wars, and you have you're Willem Dafoe.
The Green Goblin.
The Green Goblin.
Mhm.
Like this is it's crazy. In my opinion, Willem Dafoe, I think, carried this game.
Yeah.
Oh, Mario.
Harv.
That was weird. I'm so sorry. Hello.
You're
I
no,
was-
there we go. There we go.
I was just trying to change background. It crap. Oh my god.
So in my
Keep doing
opinion, Willem Dafoe. Okay, no, we're doing it again.
He's constantly going in a time loop in and
Yeah,
out.
this is my 20 seconds.
Yeah.
I can really tell you, I am the wife.
Mario, I'm here to arrest you. I'm not going to listen to a word you say. I don't give a damn.
Where's the green screen?
Sir?
Sir, where's the green screen? Yeah, so in my opinion, Willem Dafoe pretty much carried this entire game. Just his range was crazy, from him talking to his daughter and him trying to explain everything to you and him having like that presence. When he walks through the door, you're like, oh shit, things about to go down. Like this guy has that, like, just that presence. I do feel like the other I feel like Daisy Ridley was a little bit weak on the weaker side, in my opinion. When
Really?
it came to
She was my favorite. And it's in the delivery, obviously, in the dialogue option where she starts telling the story, and I think that's where she's the strongest.
Yeah, I guess
But
it
yeah.
was more of just like I guess the weakest part of it is like the dialogue that happens over and over and over again during
Sure.
the loop, right? But when the exposition is happening, you can feel the performances with all three of them.
I think for
Right.
me it was, yeah, I totally agree. I think for me it was, I know Willem Dafoe's voice like
Yeah.
easily, right?
Yeah.
So I can tell like he's doing a great job convincing me of this character. Whereas Daisy's and James's voices, like, it's not something I've consistently heard. I don't watch Wanted every weekend or whatever, or Star Wars even. Like, they could have been played by anyone else and I would have been none the wiser.
Yeah.
But Willem Dafoe, like, this is Willem Dafoe and he's doing a great job.
He's got a very distinct voice.
Yeah, the other two also did a great job, in my opinion. But it's like their voices weren't unique enough for me to say, if it was worth it or not for all that money.
Well, I actually think that was like one of the cool things for me, because you have like like we all said, Willem Dafoe, you can recognize his voice from a mile away. But at the same time, in this game, after a while, you're just like, well, that's the dad. Like, it wasn't Willem Dafoe anymore. That was just the dad or the cop or whoever. Because he's just so good at taking on whatever character he's in and just hammering it out. But with like James McAvoy and Daisy Ridley, I forgot it was them until like going in. I knew it was them, but at some point I forgot it. And that's not a complaint. I thought they did so well at just being in this world and being these people that like you have these huge names and you could have very easily spent the whole game being like, well, that's Green Goblin and that's what's his face from Star Wars, and you weren't. You were, you get into the game and you pay attention to the story, which I think is pro for their performances from huge actors that everybody knows now.
Because one of the worst things is like when you're playing a game and you're like, I know that character from somewhere else. Now you can't unhear it. And every time you hear that voice that somebody's talking, you're like, yeah, that's that person. Like it just kind of takes you out of the game.
Yeah, I think they do stand out, especially in the little moments. And there's, I mean, have you guys in any of your loops? Did you guys manage to lay in bed with your wife?
No.
When she was passed out?
No, she was awake. She's awake. So one of the loops that you can, one of the loops is you can call. So you didn't do this, Harv. So basically, you have the Bumblebee option, right? You get all through the loops. There's an option where the guy literally tells you, man, if you told my daughter anything that I was coming here to do, she would never look at me the same, right? If you call that option, he freaks out in the hallway, is like, I'm coming home. Like he leaves. He doesn't even come in the actual apartment, which then
what
means
a great ending.
Which
I did that, but then I didn't pursue anything else after that.
Did you do so that then you do proceed how the night was supposed to happen, which of course was they were supposed to eat dessert. They were supposed to have that revelation that she's pregnant. You're supposed to dance with your wife to the music. And then the night ends with you guys laying in bed and having an intimate conversation and talks. And it literally gets hot and then goes right back into the loop. He's like, oh, I love you. He's like, oh, fuck, I'm here again. Like,
I was wondering about that because I noticed right at the start, as I was loading the game, it says like rated M for mature. And like one of the things was sexual content. And I finished the game and was like, which part earned that rating? Like I was just like, I clearly missed a loop somewhere because I was like I know they talk about like you sleeping with your wife or your sister or whatever, but I was like, that is not enough for them to earn that tag in the ratings. So that makes so much. And now I feel like I missed out on some really cool performance from what I'm sure was a fantastic conversation.
Because it's a really sweet moment because there's no, you're not thinking about the loop at this moment. You're not thinking about the watch. You're not even thinking about the guy. You're just thinking about these two people having this moment of them finding out this new wonderful thing that could possibly happen for them before it all gets ripped apart, literally in the next loop. So there are definitely things that you can do that, could do. Actually, one of my favorite things is, did you guys know that if you literally did nothing, the game ends? If you do nothing,
games love doing that.
Literally, like, if you do nothing, you stand in the middle of the hallway, like, the zombie that you are. And then she's like, come sit down with me. And then you guys have a conversation and then you guys actually go out to dinner instead of him coming in. And, that's another ending right there. So again, there are beautiful little moments that I think that shine. Just, you have to discover them and you have to discover them throughout the game.
Yeah.
See, I both love that. And also now I hate that because that makes no sense in the context of hypnotism and the father trying to control the construct or whatever. Like, then wait, who's in charge of this construct? Is it not the dad who's hypnotizing him? Like, does he not have any say in what happens in his mind and he just loops him constantly? If so, then why did this dude create this weird killer / father with the weird daughter?
Or was it like lucid dreaming and he was so into this world that the dad created and then he was able to regain control of this
by not moving?
But the thing is, I feel...
But the wife brings you to the couch, so she initiates it. So that is at least something different than what we
that one, yes. But what about the dad in the hallway, like freaking out about his daughter seeing him different? Like, it ain't real.
Well, that's useful. Well, yeah. Well, that's also I'm trying to remember. Well, you don't.
I guess you don't know the construct or whatever yet.
I feel like the father doesn't know about the construct itself. This is just him making it as he goes, like inside his brain.
Well, that happens like at the last loop, right? The only time you go in, the first time you go in, you're having a flashback. The flashback is you killing your father. Then you get the watch. Then you can get and talk to your father in that aspect. So you could technically do this ending before you do that. So yeah. So, you could still be in a loop where it's like, I don't know why you would think that would be the answer, which is it's not. You can totally proceed without it, but it is an option. It's a thing that happens.
So weird.
I did do that ending, but then instead of me going to hanging out with my wife, I tried to leave the apartment. I was like, I'm fucking out, I'm out of here. And it just restarted the loop again. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, can't do that one.
There were so many times in your live stream when I was watching, I was like, just fucking leave. Go out the front door. Reset.
Just reset the
There's
game.
nothing for you here.
Yeah. Reset the loop.
I
What
kept on
about the
taking
knife?
I kept on taking the knife, like the big knife, and I was like, I don't know what the hell to even do with this thing. Like, like I could stab myself, I could stab my wife. It was just like one of those things. I kept on picking it up every single time when I
That's
knew
how I
it would
discovered
never
how to
work.
use it. I discovered how to use it because I used that to open up an event
Yeah, so I didn't use that knife. I used the knife that was on the killer.
on the guy, right?
Yeah, I used that one to open up the vent. I didn't know that I
Yeah.
could actually use the big knife to open up a vent because I think I tried
Well,
it.
because I'm saying when I did it, like that was the first thing I did because I was like, oh, there's highlights. Why is it highlight? And I'm like, what do I need to open that? And then I used the knife.
Yeah.
So that made sense.
So since we've all played this game, we've all experienced this game in different kind of ways. If there was a 13 minutes, for example, for this game, what would be one of the biggest changes that you guys would really, really enjoy, or something that they could add to this game that would make it a lot better for you personally? We'll start with Robo with this one.
Ugh, I don't know. Like, I think maybe just like shortening it a little bit, which feels weird to say because like it took me 5 hours to play through just like one ending, and I hear so many people that are like, I did it in like 3 hours or whatever, and I'm like, okay, well clearly I was like messing around with something. But like, and I don't even mean like shorten the story, but like maybe take out a few of the like misdirect options or something just to sort of help you get to that path quicker and allow you less time to get frustrated with the loop and stay on track a little bit more would be probably the biggest thing. I don't have a specific suggestion of how or like what to take out, but just I think there was a little bit too many. I think there's a little bit too many like misdirect options and things like that just allowed a little bit too much free time to get away from the story.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Because like, there are like, I guess not really endings, but like, I don't even know what really constitutes as an ending in this game. 'Cause it just keeps fucking restarting the loop again. But like, where there was a lot of those moments where one was like if you hide inside the closet and your wife just gets shot in the head, and I was just like, so I just went through all of this. I guess you do figure out where the watch is on that side though. Right, I guess that in that path, you figure out where the watch is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
and
just
the
trying
one
to say,
where
like,
she's tied up. Yeah,
I was just gonna like maybe that why did we even go through that whole thing?
Yeah.
But I guess
Yeah,
you
for
do.
me, it was stuff like
you know though is because you're being choked out every time you're in the room. So if you're not in the room, what happens afterwards?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is a way to show you like, all right, what if I'm not there? Then okay, you can hide.
Like that was useful, but like for me, I kept getting caught up on the two vents, the one in the bedroom and in the living room, because I was like, because he says like if you try to put something in it, he's like, this doesn't fit down there or something. So I was like, oh, I have to find the thing that does fit down there, and that'll do. And I spent so much time. So like even if it's something like that, like switch the dialogue so it doesn't like try to point to that as like something important. And then eventually, I think I heard the wife say something about like the vent in the bathroom, and I was like, what do you mean there's a vent in the bathroom? But like I spent so much time just focusing on those vents that didn't do anything.
Yeah, the spoon thing was also something too, where they're like, this is not, you can't use the spoon here. I was like, then where the hell do you use the spoon?
Yeah.
I don't know
you
if
use it to eat the dessert, Harv.
Like a normal person.
Yeah.
God, have you tried doing normal
Put a
things?
spoon in the vent.
I tried that.
I
It
tried.
didn't work.
It said like the spoon. There's a different use for the spoon. I was like, okay, all right.
The developer's like, oh, it's there so that way you know about vents. That's literally why they're there. But other than that, there's no purpose for them other than to just be there, which is quite annoying. Okay, quick question actually. Did you guys look at the paintings at all, like that are throughout the houses?
I looked at them, never knew what they were for, and just started ignoring
I
them.
literally thought they were
still change, which is cool, but
they do. Yeah, they do change. So the Roman holiday one, which is two people on a balcony, the longer you go through the game, there are 3 different phases that the painting changes. So it goes from being, them sort of like in love to them sort of being apart to then her being gone entirely. Then there's one in the kitchen where there's an egg where during a certain loop, if you look at it again, you're going to see a little head of a snake popping out. And then if you do something terrible, which is probably the murder your wife aspects that you can do in the game, it turns into a snake eating its own tail, which is a loop going forward. So, and these are all achievements. These are all things that you can obviously unlock. But they're interesting story things that you do as you go along. Even one of the things is if you do certain 3 certain things, there's a flower pot. By the way, have you tried flowering the flower pot?
I tried watering that flower pot.
Yeah.
I was like, but that was like way farther into the game where I was like, what is this? It's not important. I don't care about this anymore.
Yeah, you have to do 3 certain things, and then the flower blooms in it, and then you water it, and then they pop open. So there's different things that you can also do within it that does dynamically change. The only thing I wish is that and the one major one obviously is in front of the front of where I don't even know what it's called, the seat, the love seat, right, where she's sitting. There's a giant painting of like seasons. So depending on where you are in the game shows you that it changes seasons. Especially the last one, which is straight winter. So little thematic things that help, sort of build that world around in that story where what happens.
The toilet didn't mean anything, right?
Toilet was did you take a shit?
Oh my god, I can't tell you. I flushed so many things down the toilet thinking it's gonna clog and show me something.
I flushed like the pills, the phones, and your character starts laughing for some reason after you do it.
One thing I didn't try is flushing the watch down the toilet, but I wanted to. But then I finally found like the one end, and it was like, I'm not going back for that.
I think it says it's too big for it. I think that's what it says.
Oh, okay.
It's the double-edged sort of like there can't be too many options to do, but there can't be not a little amount because you gotta also explore. So it's like not everything can just be the solution. So
100%.
The game does have a balance, and I don't know if it succeeds completely because, like I said, the vent thing is just stupid. There's nothing the vent do. So
I get the problem with that is like I think the loop is too long at that point. Then if you could just skip up to a certain point in the loop and then go from there, I think having those options is fine, but going to the loop over and over and over and getting the same outcome, you're just like, okay,
like
all right,
loop checkpoints, maybe.
Yeah, like a loop checkpoint or something like you've
loop,
seen this loop
like a minute into it or whatever.
Yeah, certain actions do speed up time though. So, like for instance, I don't know if that's a checkpoint for you, but if you know that you have to go in the closet to call the daughter, once you do that, it speeds up time to when he shows up. So, I mean, they have certain aspects that are built into the game, but there are still things that are. I mean, obviously, it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't put spoons in the toilet. Okay, that's definitely not a solution. Let's move on. I wish there was things that they could check off. Like if he did it again, he was like, yeah, that was dumb. Why did I do that?
That too. Like if you did the same thing over, it'd be like, I already did this last time. This didn't work. Like, okay, I don't need to worry about this anymore. Right?
Yeah,
that stuff.
Yeah, because I think I agree with Mario that I think they do actually do a pretty good job of giving you clues as to what you need to do, and I think maybe that's it is giving you better clues as to what you shouldn't do after you've already tried something. Like the first time you check out the vents, if I go to check it out again, if it's not the one in the bathroom, you can be like, yeah, clearly these aren't useful, because he does that with the wife already when he's trying to prove that the day is restarting.
He speeds it up.
Something. He's like, this doesn't. You're right. That was stupid. Let me find something else. And it's like, well, just put that dialogue over here too, and then that would help me.
Yeah.
Help me help
it's
you.
Like, there's clearly not a watch in this vent, so let's not bother. Whatever stupid dialogue it ended up being.
So, Robert, if they made another game, what would be the biggest thing you would want to change out of this game? What do you think they should add or change? I guess.
Right. So I agree with some of the you guys were saying, like making it shorter, more concise. Either do that or add more choices, because the amount of things I tried to do that I thought would have been a perfectly good solution, putting the thing in the vent, putting it on the table, etc., like at least make the guy like focus on the watch, say something that like, cool, now I have the watch, now where's that wife of his, like something to lead me more to believe that, like immediately, like, you know what I mean, like a little bit more handholdy, I guess is the right word, like take me along this narrative you're showing me, because clearly you want me to follow a certain path. It's not as much as there are choices that you make to see different endings, those endings don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. There is a true ending, a story that the developer and the writer are trying to tell me. If that's true, then take me on this narrative, like hold my hand a little bit more, tell me what I should do and shouldn't do, and don't give me so many choices that end up being completely wrong and stupid and making me feel like an idiot.
Like,
I mean, I don't even think that's necessarily hand holding, because like I think one of the strengths of this game is that there's so many different paths that you can choose to go down. And like I never thought to put the watch on the table, but when you were doing like talking about doing that, it was like, oh yeah, I wonder what does happen. And the fact that they don't have anything, like you said, even in a line of dialogue where he picks it up and is like, cool, and then goes to the wife, that would have been great, because at least in my opinion, that's rewarding.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The game was like, yeah, you can do that. It doesn't help, but you know what? You still thought of it. Good job.
Exactly.
Let's move on.
I screamed that out loud. I said that. Pick up the watch, then go kill my wife. I yelled that.
But so this is where I think this game doesn't. I guess I don't know. Like I'm still trying to grapple between like what is your end goal in the loop. One is to keep your wife alive, keep the killer alive, and then find out what the problem, like what the actual story is, right? So if you can do all three of those things, then you're going to the right direction, right? So what Robert is talking about, where he gets the watch, him acknowledging the watch and then just killing the wife, it should restart the loop, because one of those three things is failed. And so like the game should tell you like those are like those three things, but you don't actually see that until like the very end, be like those are the three things that you need to do by the end of the loop to progress through the story.
I guess that's what I kind of got mad at, because this game was like presented in a way that was like, you can do whatever you want and things will happen, and then blah blah blah. Like I felt going into this, maybe this is also my fault, I don't know, but going into this I expected more freedom than I got. You know what I mean? And that kind of made me very upset that like I'm trying to do these things that I believe are so correct with what the information that I have, but because I didn't follow the exact path or the exact dialogue to unlock a certain thing, you're not allowing me to do X. So it's like, then just tell me that, like, give me more information to go towards what you want me to do, I guess.
Yeah, and like obviously there's limits within game, like can't program in every possible option that people think of. But yeah, there were a few that felt more obvious within, like you said, within the world and within the information that they've given, that seemed to just be excluded or weren't thought of. Or
like even adding a couple of dialogue, just like you don't even have to add like a whole different thing to it. Just a piece of dialogue here, to just a piece of dialogue there, I think would have fixed a lot of those problems.
Yeah. That's why my conclusion was this would have been a better movie for me.
No, for sure. One of the things, again, you have to somehow sort of intuitively know to go look at the watch at the right time, right? In order to do that, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like the game is not intuitive in that much. You just sort of just have to do it. I wish that early on in the game, though, that you actually got that experience of being in the hypnotist section earlier, but you don't have any information to share to that person, so that way you can progress and get to the end. I wish that you still have to go through the loops to get the information, so that way you can express it near the end. So that way it keeps telling us like, okay, clearly this is the end goal is getting the watch, right? What will give me to finally, complete that goal with talking to that therapist? And if it was discovering, the fact that the killer isn't my sister, my wife, the fact that I'm actually the killer, that like, but I'm actually the brother, like getting all that information, then finally getting to a realization of like, I think I have everything, and then going to the watch, and then just hitting the watch, and then going through. Like, I wish there was something like that where it really telegraphed where the direction you need to do, which the game it doesn't. But at the very least, I wish that was something that they could incorporate.
I think teasing the hypnotist thing would have been really cool. At at the beginning, or like at least like midway through, to be like, oh, there's another layer to this onion that we hadn't even touched yet, instead of just thrusting you right into it.
I think it would have been cool, but I think it could be dangerous too if it's not done correctly, because I remember when I heard because I didn't know about the hypnotist thing when I finished it, but when I heard about one of those endings, I was kind of like, oh, that's sort of just like an advanced version of it was all a dream the whole time, which always feels like a throwaway ending, right? Yeah. So I think for me, and especially anyone who's not fully sold on the game yet, if like all the way part of the way through, you're just like, oh, none of this is actually real, Like I think if it's not done very well, I think it could easily be the point where a lot of people check out because it like, especially with how I was talking about like getting really tedious with the loops. I'd be like, I mean, none of this is even real. Why does this? I think that would have taken away some of the stakes for me a little bit because I actually really enjoyed finding that out at the end of like, wait, what do you mean? Like that was a real twist for me. I was like, none of this is real. Wait, but who's that guy?
Yeah, it would feel empty if it was that way, right? It would like everything
Yeah.
that you're doing would feel like, why did I even put 4 hours into this game when nothing of it all mattered, right? Yeah. So
Like, what was the deal with the health insurance? Like in the very beginning, they keep hammering home. You got a daughter with cancer. He can't pay his thing. The watch is expensive. There's nothing to do with this health insurance. Like there's like a little too many red herrings of just like, hey, try it out, see if it works. It doesn't work. Haha.
I guess maybe for world building, maybe I don't know. There
Maybe.
are a couple of weird choices when it comes to that. So okay, so
yeah, and to your point, maybe having tipped off about the like other layer would have helped with some of those because you could have known, or maybe not. I don't know, but
If anything, if the father had cancer and that was the tie-in the whole time, it's like in the story it's manifested that it's this daughter, but really it's actually he was gonna die anyways, and that I think that would have been to me interesting. Is like, yes, you took the final shot by taking 2 bullets to him, but he was gonna die regardless.
Yeah,
like I don't know, something like that maybe.
So I love having this conversation about this game. I think we haven't had a game like this in a little bit that we get to sit down and have a conversation about it and how we interpreted like the ending, how we interpret like how the game is played, and just the overarching story that this game tries to put on right in front of you.
You know what? 7 out of 10.
There we go. Yeah. Let's keep raising the score.
Hey, if we're here for another hour, he's gonna be at 9. Don't worry about it.
He's going through the loop.
Yeah, he's going through the loop. This is his loop right now. So I want to go around to everybody and say, like, would you recommend this to a person? Robo, would you recommend this game?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually did recommend it to Robert, and he hated it, but I would still recommend it to other people because I just like I'm a big believer that games are art, and especially when they're telling a story as interesting as this, and using the gameplay to tie to the narrative. I love when games do that. So I think even if this isn't usually your cup of tea, and like maybe with a caveat of like, it's a good game. It's going to take a little bit to get through it, but like push through, it'll be worth it. I would absolutely recommend this to people for sure.
At least it's not one of those games where like, man, after 30 hours, this game gets good. You know?
Yeah.
That's that Final Fantasy 14 I keep hearing about.
Anyways, Mario. So what would you recommend this game to people?
Absolutely. I think I personally enjoyed this game on multiple levels, including both the cinematic, the story, the music, the way that the game is constructed. I just think that these are all interesting elements that all come together really beautifully and tell a very bizarre and yet interesting story that TV kept pulling me in. The more I kept unraveling the loop and going forward and learning more information. And I want to see more narratives like this. I mean, like I said, how much this reminds me of movies. This reminded me of movies like Old Boy, Time Crimes, Memento. And if you enjoy any of those things, this is probably something you'd want to check out. I do want to preface this, and this is something that because there is a element in this game that we haven't really talked about, and it is the violence against women, which is very apparent, and you could do quite a bit of damage in this game. I do think that it's not necessarily a hook obviously to the game because it's not something you want to do, but it's something that you kind of have to progress. I do want to say I wanted to track that from that. So if you are sensitive to something to that, then this might not be for you.
Yeah,
but
I did find that part really weird that you had to do that.
Yeah, that's...
and it sounds, because I only ended up doing the sleeping pills. It sounds like you can do more that I didn't even.
You can do some massive damage in this game.
I tried to put the gun to the wife, and he was like, "But then that would make me a killer."
But then you can stab your wife.
Do it again.
Yeah,
do it again.
Yeah, you can actually.
That's what happens.
Too, yeah.
Oh, okay. You got to be committed.
they're getting that confirmation there for.
Yeah, I don't know about the gun part, but the knife for sure.
Yeah, the knife for sure.
Okay. Like, all right, what if I did it again? And then
he's got the courage to kill his wife, but not the killer. Okay, cool.
Sir.
Excuse me.
I've stabbed that man several times, but he just roundhouse punches me in the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Why can't you learn from that loop, you idiot?
Yeah, I guess one of those things like you don't learn. Like I feel like you should learn more for every loop that goes by. I feel like he like has amnesia when the loop starts again, or like selective amnesia.
Sure.
He has like the case of selective amnesia. Robert, would you recommend this game?
That's a difficult question for me to answer. Because I want to commit and say yes or no, but it's very much it has to be like, do you like the ambiguity of point and click adventure games? Are you okay with that? If so, play this game. If not, whatever. It's like it's the same with I do this a lot with like M. Night Shyamalan movies where I'll just read the Wikipedia to see the twist and be like, yeah, that was cool. I think this game, you give it an hour. If you get annoyed after an hour or two, just stop. It's not. It doesn't matter because like that's the experience I had because at a certain point I was like, oh, are they brother sister? All right, and then I was just like, let me just keep going to see the end. Like it wasn't like pushing me like, oh man, I gotta see it. Like I was just like, whatever, it's fine. The gameplay to me was a lot more frustrating than the reward of the story and the endings and all that. I would have been totally fine with just watching the YouTube video at a certain point, but I was streaming it, so I had to see it through.
Hey, everybody got your reactions, which is probably one of the best. See, that's the. So I would probably recommend this game to people mainly because of what this game elicits is the reaction, is the story itself. The mechanics of the game, depending on what you don't like and what you do like, I don't think hold up for the most part. But again, not a point and click adventure person like Robert. I'm not into those kind of games, or I don't play enough of them to know what like a tell is or what this is and what that is. So, but the game itself, the story, and the performances, I think overturn that feeling. It's like they nailed. I feel like they nailed what they were going for, but again, the execution just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. But I still recommend this game because then you can have these kind of conversations with people and talk about this game. Because I don't know. Okay, so I don't know if you guys ever saw this game in its early development.
I didn't get a chance to see so my first exposure to it was actually at E3 because I saw it in the trailer and I was like, oh, this is incredible. So it was the first time I actually saw it and I was like, this
game used to be a first person game, and you walk around the apartment.
Huh.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, this used to be like you were the person, like the guy, the protagonist, and you were walking around the apartment. It was very
like that.
Yeah, it was very early development because Kind of Funny had an early build of this game way back, and they showed it off, and it was like, yeah, you were first person and you were going through like different drawers and stuff like that, and you could like see it and all that kind of. I don't know where in development they're like, you know what, let's just put it top view. Maybe that's why they can get like the big bucks with like the performances. Like, you know what, let's bring it up. let's not put this to first person view and stuff like that. But I don't know if I would like that. I this game, because it's top view and you have like the different rooms and stuff, I think it works well with it. First person might have lost a little bit more of like I don't know. I think it would have lost a little bit with the narrative and stuff like that, because like you kind of have to know what's going on in the different rooms, right? In first person, once you get like handcuffed, you're like, what's happening behind me? Is there something happening behind me?
I feel like that would have made it more visceral though. I'm imagining myself being in the closet. I mean that was that first person, right? And that I was freaking out when that happened. When I'm watching this unfold, hearing it, I was like, "Oh my!" That was like the big investment moment for me. And then you kind of pull out, you're just this idiot guy walking around. You could see the jankiness and all that. I think I would have preferred if it was fully first person, and even if I'm handcuffed, I can't see my wife, and that like adds to the tension of like what is going on, and she's like begging you like say something to him, and I'm like I'm trying, my hands are tied behind my back, I can't do anything. I think that would have sold like the help this list and stuff, but you know.
Yeah. No, that when she gets shot, when you're in the closet, that was my first like, oh fuck, shit just got real. Like he just straight up murders this lady, takes the watch and just straight up murders her. And yeah, I guess I know where you're coming from when it comes to like that kind of type thing.
And imagine having William Dafoe sock you in the face 16 million times in a loop, like watching him face to face with that guy, with that son of a bitch.
It was weird seeing him with a beard and then Willem Dafoe talking, because I don't think I've ever seen Willem Dafoe with like a big beard.
Have you? Then watch The Lighthouse.
Oh yes, the
Yeah,
freaking
yeah.
lighthouse.
Did
Lord.
you ever look at the peephole to see their face, to see his face?
No, I never did that. I wanted
It
to
looks
do it
like
in
he's
one of the
straight
loops.
out of no. He looks like he's straight out of Metal Gear. That's why they don't actually have animated faces, so it's actually pretty
Yeah.
fun. But you can look through the
Okay.
peephole. You can still
Yeah,
do
it's
it.
like a weird, like,
It's like
yeah.
Yeah.
Shadow Moses.
Yeah, a lot of people in my chat were like, "Lock the door! You can't get in." It's like she just goes there and unlocks it. Be like, "Yo, what's up, man?" What are you doing? Like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I just think that if you did go to first person route, I think that it loses its identity and what made it interesting in the first place. And it loses the sandboxiness of the game. So I think that putting it in this unique perspective of this literal box, I think actually added a lot to the game and added to my excitement for it. The fact that it was confined to this area, I don't have to worry about it expanding out and going to underground caves and spooky stuff. Like,
I mean, I think the game
it's
was
just
still.
this one
I think
apartment that I recognize.
I think the game was still confined to that house, but it was just in a first-person view.
No,
Yeah, but
I understand.
I think yeah, with this top-down view, there is a greater sense of confinement because you
Yeah.
can't see what's on the other side of the walls. Whereas if you're in that first-person view, that's what we're more used to. So like, there's a wall right here, but I know that there's something on the other side of that wall. But like with that top-down view, there's darkness. There's nothing there. Like it
Yeah.
shows you that there's nothing beyond these walls. Which I think, yeah, in a first-person view, I think you do gain some of that, but I do think there is like a sense of confinement that you get with the top-down view that would have been lost a little bit.
All right, guys, that was all my bullet points that I had for this entire podcast. So, guys, this was an awesome experience.
All right, let's loop again. Let's start it.
up.
We'll-
Oh
cool.
shit, I
You
forgot to
started the
record.
Oh God.
Oh shit, I found my watch.
One-
All right, we're going back. Oh god, no. No, Mario.
Mario looped himself.
I'm back from the future.
Did we finish the podcast in the future?
No.
Oh no. Oh no. Guys, Robert, Robo, thank you guys so much for coming on PiP and talking about
Thank you
12
both for
minutes.
having us, for real.
Thank you very much.
So, Robert, where can people find you? There we go.
You can find me on the internet everywhere. Robert Highwind, twitch.tv/Robert Highwind, twitter.com/Robert Highwind, youtube.com/Robert Highwind. And also, if you like shenanigans and all that, you can find me and RoboDeser, my colleague, right over there. You point. We have a tag team YouTube channel called Co-op Comedy, COOPs comedy.com. We'll take you to our YouTube.
I saw
where
you
we
guys
play
changed the
games.
logo on your YouTube.
Yeah, we rebranded.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
A little overnight.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
A little 12 a.m. sesh.
I like
Yeah,
it.
it was
I like the new branding because it's
Thank you.
much more simple. Like you kind of now you know what it is too. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. All right,
Yeah.
Robo, where can people find you?
Just like Robert said, everywhere on the internet, RoboDessert, twitch.tv/RoboDessert, TikTok.com/@RoboDessert. They have that weird little @ symbol in the URL. Twitter.com/RoboDessert and coopcomedy.com or youtube.com/coopcomedy. Either one. Go to either one of those. Go to both.
Just go
Go
to
to
both.
both.
Open
Go
up
both,
2
yeah.
tabs and then go to each one in the tab.
Subscribe twice.
Yeah, subscribe twice.
Watch
Our
everything
self-esteem
twice.
depends on
It'd be
it.
Really great.
Make a YouTube account. Subscribe. Make another YouTube account.
Tell your mother and your father. They got YouTube.
Exactly. Mario, where can people find you?
Of course, you can find me over here at youtube.com/point-in-progress, where I am doing some review videos. I, of course, did Boyfriend Dungeon, and I am working on doing 12 minutes as well as its own standalone. I'm honestly thinking I'm going to maybe change a little up a bit. It's going to be both a review, but also an analysis of all the things that, like I said, are cinematic about it. So probably be talking about those influences in there as well, just because there's just so many in there. You can also, will be finding me. I just signed a contract to do some video work for a company, and you'll find me there when that gets announced or when a video comes out.
Hell
So
yeah.
very excited about that.
That is
That's
amazing.
It's gonna be fun to get paid to do videos again.
Heck
And
yes.
of course, you can always find me at youtube.com/thatmaribero, where I have a Halo show where I play Halo every week and bring on a little guest. So that is fun.
Remember when my Halo didn't work?
Yeah, that was a blast. Yeah. Oh man.
Going at 5
Tell you
frames
what.
per second.
Season 1, I thought, oh man, the problems are behind us. We're not gonna have any of these. Season 2, murder, straight murder.
Oh man. Well, you can find me at Beard and the Hair everywhere except YouTube is Beard and the Hair Gaming. You can also find me here on Point in Progress. On Beard in the Hair, I got a new show coming up at the start of September, which I'm really, really excited to show off. I can't wait. I've been planning this for the last month or so, so I'm kind of excited for it to come out. For Point in Progress, we got a new podcast coming out on Thursday with Final Fantasy 14. It's me, Fee, and Frank. And then on Friday, we're recording on twitch.tv/Point in Progress. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this spoiler cast. We're going to try to do some more spoiler casts with people around the internet and try to have some more of these kind of podcasts and stuff like that for games that we all really care about. But on that note, thank you guys so much for joining us. And
Could you never say it? Progress has been made.
I'm giving it to you.
Progress has been made.
Bye, guys.